Adventure Time is home to an absurd variety of characters. Characters that you love, characters you hate, and characters that are somewhere in between. Sometimes this is hard to quantify, as characters you weren't a fan of in the beginning have their exceptional character development that completely changes how you felt about them when the show first started. Finn was a character who seemed like a one-dimensional human boy who liked fighting evil, but we later see him go through struggles, see him give in to natural desires, and above all, someone who makes mistakes. Eventually, he becomes someone completely different from who he once was. Most characters have a general consensus about how the fan base feels about them, but there's one completely divisive character. A character who was merely a damsel in distress initially, but transformed into a symbol of power. A character whose heart is in the right place, but lost sight of her true intentions in the pursuit of control. This is the story of Princess Bubblegum. Really quick, before I begin, I wanted to ask you newcomers to please subscribe. According to my analytics, more than 90% of you who watch my videos are not subscribed. The support really gives me the drive to continue doing videos, and you can help me out by just clicking that one button. With that being said, let's get to the video. As every fan knows, season 1 to 2 of Adventure Time was a completely different show from what we have now. Princess Bubblegum was repeatedly kidnapped by Ice King, prompting Finn and Jake to rescue her. While she was often seen as a damsel in distress, she wasn't always the one who needed saving. For example, in the episode Dungeon, Finn and Jake get trapped in a dungeon that PB specifically told them not to go into. PB is the one who ends up saving them. Bonnibel Bubblegum is also a huge science nerd and is one of the smartest characters in Adventure Time. Now, if we're talking about her character, we have to mention her relationship with Finn. You see, since Finn and Jake kept saving her from the Ice King, PB would often thank Finn by giving him a kiss. Now, this can be seen as a lighthearted sign of gratitude, but naturally, Finn develops feelings for her, and she's pretty aware of it. Take note of the episode Ricardio the Heart Guy. Finn saves PB from Ice King, she gives him a kiss, and invites the pair to a party in the Candy Kingdom. He starts chatting up Bubblegum, and Finn says, "I feel weird." Clearly, he's jealous, but he states that his weird feeling has to do with Ricardio's sinister face. Finn interjects and tells PB about his weird feeling, to which she says, "You're totally jealous of Ricardio." Despite Finn being right in the Heart Guy being an absolute freak, he's actually Ice King's heart who came to life, PB is fully aware of the boy's infatuation with her. So when she starts doing stuff like this, I think this is pretty irresponsible. If you know the kid likes you, stop acting flirtatious and stop these weird advances. He's f***ing 12. The kid's gonna fall even deeper in love with you. Now, in fairness, she does do this later, but in the worst possible way. I'm getting ahead of myself, we'll get there. I'll also briefly touch on the episode Go With Me, which has Finn trying to ask out PB to the movies. Jake calls up Marceline, and we see the vampire and PB interact for the first time.
Hey, Marceline.
Hello, Bonnibel.
Yeah.
From this one sequence, we can see that there's some history there. I used to think it was because they're just two completely different people and are naturally gonna hate each other, but we later find out what this history really entails. Let's now go to Mortal Folly. This episode has PB tell Finn and Jake about the Lich, the first real villain the pair has to fight. She gives Finn the sweater because the Lich's lair is cold, stating,
"I care about you, Finn,"
before giving him a hug. The two head off soon after. Ice King then kidnaps PB, and after Finn defeats the Lich, he arrives and has a change of heart, setting PB free. Unfortunately, the dumbass does this.
Go free! Oops, I've got the dropsies.
In Mortal Recoil, PB's body is rushed to the infirmary, and after seemingly being healed, it's clear that there's something off with her, to the point where she starts doing some insanely unhinged stuff. Jake tries to show Finn that she's lost the plot and does this.
I'm looking in.
Jake, what the heck?
Oh my globe!
Come on, man, that's pervy!
And to no one's surprise, she's transformed into this disgusting Lich monster. Ice King arrives,
Hey, Finn, are you dead or what?
and tells them that he saw something go into PB when she got out of the pool, stating that it's the Lich possessing her. After some back and forth, Ice King helps the pair out in stopping her, and she f***ing dies.
Okay, I didn't kill her this time. Everybody saw that, right?
Dude.
After being rushed to the infirmary again, PB is now no longer 19, but 13, just as Finn is. So Ice King leaves because he's not a total freak, and Finn and PB share a loving look. They hug with the whole Candy Kingdom cheering. Let's now go to season 3, to the episode titled Too Young. This episode is Lemongrab's first appearance, who comes to the Candy Kingdom and takes PB's place as the governing figure, stating that she's too young to rule. PB can't do much because she created him, and thus he is the rightful heir. The whole episode follows Princess Bubblegum and Finn pranking Lemongrab relentlessly to force him out, but it doesn't work, and they get thrown into the dungeon. PB then tells Finn that she can turn herself back to 18, but she doesn't want to because she likes being a kid. She then says,
"My people need me, and that comes first."
Yeah.
So after performing the procedure, the one last thing they need to do is hug. PB states,
I just want to say how much fun I've had hanging out with you. I wish I could stay like this with you, but
I know, Princess.
and after briefly kissing, she goes back to being 18. She pushes him away and tells Lemongrab to piss off, and then we get this scene. There's clearly something weighing on Finn's mind, and he says,
Do you want to hug some more?
What? Finn, you silly. That was like 5 years ago. You really gotta move on.
this scene never sat right with me. I can safely say that Princess Bubblegum's attitude toward the whole thing is extremely unsympathetic and patronizing. Why didn't she have a proper talk with him about the situation instead of just being so cold and dismissive? Sure, you could argue that as soon as she becomes 18 again, her mindset completely changed to focusing more on the Candy Kingdom, but this doesn't justify her being an asshole.
Such a silly boy.
The guy's 13, you guys clearly had something going on when you were 13, and to just disregard him like this is not the right move, IMO. And we see in other episodes of Season 3 that Finn has a lot of trouble moving on from her. Take the episode What Was Missing, where this Doorlord creature steals a bunch of prized possessions from the main characters. For Finn, it was a piece of Bubblegum's hair. Once he gets it back, she says,
Oh, you.
oh, and the thing that was taken from PB was a shirt that Marceline gave her, with her saying,
You kept the shirt I gave you?
I wear it all the time. As pajamas.
Again, the writers are giving small tidbits as to what their true relationship was in the past. Back on the topic of Finn, in the Season 3 finale Incendium, Finn sees Jake lying on PB's lap because, well, he's a dog, and so he tries to do the same thing, and understandably, PB's like,
Finn. No. Come on, Finn. Don't be weird.
and so the entire episode has Finn crying because he can't have her. No, like seriously, that's what he does the entire episode until he meets Flame Princess. The point that I want to make here is that if PB sat down and she had a long talk with him about their special circumstance, it wouldn't have caused Finn so much pain. I'm not saying he would have gotten over her instantly. The guy's still pretty young, but it would have been way better than her just being so cold about it. I don't blame her for being uncomfortable, but acting like nothing happened is still wrong. Let's now go to Season 4, to the episode Goliad. PB looks exhausted as she reflects on how she nearly died because of the Lich, and what would become of the candy people if anything had ever happened to her. She says she won't be around forever. She creates a candy sphinx called Goliad using her own DNA, intending for it to be her successor. She asks Finn and Jake to teach Goliad stuff about leadership, but it goes horribly wrong. She sees herself as more powerful, and therefore as someone who has the right to control, and it's revealed she's got mind control powers. Goliad goes rogue, and PB makes another candy sphinx in her lab, and out comes Stormo. Stormo and Goliad arrive at a stalemate, and they stay like this for the remainder of the series. We actually do see a brief shot of them in the next episode in the background, and when Golb attacks in the finale. Finn asks PB a good question,
Goliad and Stormo are the same. How come Stormo was a good guy?
and she says to him that she used his heroic DNA to create him. Now, why do I bring this episode up? Well, if using Finn's DNA made Stormo a good guy, that means that the reason Goliad was so susceptible to becoming corrupted and power hungry was because she had PB's DNA. I think this serves as somewhat of foreshadowing for the kind of person and monarch PB is, and how she's probably tried her hardest to curb that kind of behavior, the kind that becomes power hungry and controls whatever she can. I'll get more into this in future episodes. Now, let's briefly talk about the episode Burning Low. I remember the trailer for this episode portraying it as some love triangle drama you'd see in a soap show, but it's a bit more complicated than that, or less complicated, I guess. After Finn comes back from his date with FP, we see that PB's already inside their house.
Collecting taxes. You guys weren't home, so I let myself in.
So hang on a minute. Finn and Jake live in the grasslands, which is not the same territory as the Candy Kingdom. What kind of capitalist bullshit are you spewing, PB? Oh, my bad. I might trigger some of you with that joke. Jake tells PB about their date, and she leaves in a rush, looking distraught. The show portrays her as jealous and heartbroken over their relationship. Finn and Jake think the same, mainly because they weren't paying attention to what she originally said, with Finn losing it.
Now you like me?
PB explains that Flame Princess is extremely unstable, and if she gets excited enough, especially in a romantic sense, she's basically gonna burn through the planet's core. And she even says,
Why do you think I had her father keep her locked up?
a revelation? Sure. A surprise? Not at all. So Jake and PB rush after them, and Finn and FP kiss, causing her to melt through the Earth's crust. Finn goes after her, and Jake clogs up the hole with his body. PB tells Jake,
If you stay on the hole for 24.8 seconds, the reaction will be deprived of oxygen. She'll go out.
I know her actions here are for the good of Earth and everything, but the way she said that is just too damn unhinged. Finn gives FP some oxygen, and Jake pulls them out, so she's stabilized for the time being, with PB giving Finn a worried look. Jake then gives PB the rage bait smile and says,
Jealous?
Shut up.
And no, as much as it'd be funny if she was jealous, I don't think she was in that sense. You could argue that a little part of her is jealous that Finn is giving his attention to another princess instead of her, but the look she gives him at the end seems more concerned than jealous. She still cares deeply for Finn, and having him date a ball of fire means that he might get hurt. This episode is also a stepping stone for PB and Flame Princess's explosive relationship, which will be explored more later on in the series. Let's now move to season 5, and I'm going to mention the episode Wizards Only Fools. Starchy is sick and says that he'll only take magic to cure him of his illness, and not anything actually medical. It is here that PB makes her stance on magic known. She says that all magic is just science, but presented in cute and fun ways.
I got your magic right here, okay? And razzle dazzle, flooby doo, zamma bamma foo.
Is that a real spell?
No, I'm making fun of spells.
Okay, there are a couple of problems with this, so side tangent. In season 3, there's an episode called Wizard Battle, where Finn and Jake enter a Wizards Only tournament to stop the Ice King, who's cheating. The prize? The winner gets to kiss PB on the lips. Yeah, don't ask me why she would be doing that. The point is, PB agreed to do this, and yet she's very anti-magic.
Finn, you know better than to ruin the sanctity of Wizard Battle. Wizards only, silly.
And this extends further into the season 4 episode's 5 short Greybles, where PB literally does magic to make the perfect sandwich. This is most likely just an example of the writers not thinking about every single detail from the jump, which is understandable. Let's get back to the episode. So they head off to Wizard City dressed like wizards, but they can't seem to get through this magic wall. We then get this hilarious scene.
How you trick a wall?
Don't know, man. I give up.
For reals?
Yeah, I'm no good at this.
PB arrives and reveals that she's got the password from Ice King. She basically tortured him by breaking his finger and voice recorded him until he said it. This is understandable because the guy's done a bunch of heinous stuff to her in the past.
Password, now!
Oh! Wizards rule! The password is Wizards rule!
The wall recognizes his voice and Wizard City is revealed.
Powerful magics.
It's a vocal registry rigged to a vibration modulator. The wall's still there, it's just the density's all wobbled.
Boo.
A cool thing that happens after this is that Jake shows off his stretching powers and asks PB to explain that without saying it's magic. She says it's a mutation, which is actually correct since Jake is an alien. Go watch my video on Jake the dog by clicking the I if you haven't already, by the way. So they arrive at this shop and the clerk gives them a cold spell. PB asks how it works, causing the guy to get suspicious. She keeps pestering him and the guy catches on that they're fakes, and the wizard police come after them. After stealing it, they run off and we get another hilarious scene.
Hey, Jake,
What?
is PB straight up naked right now?
Dude, don't make me feel any more awkward than I already do.
They get cornered, but PB demands a meeting on behalf of the Candy Kingdom with the Grandmaster Wizard. There, the guy says that PB has been a dear friend to the Wizard Kingdom for years, so he's gonna let them go if she says,
Wizards rule!
she doubles down and states that wizards are dumb and magic is bullshit, and they go to jail. Now, a bunch of other nonsense happens and they escape. But the reason I bring this up is that 1, it's just a funny episode, and 2, it showcases PB's headstrong and stubborn attitude, something we'll see be a big staple of her character going forward. In the episode Sky Witch, Marceline comes to PB for help in getting into Maja's lair. Why does she want to do this? Well, the witch has Hambo, given to Marceline by Simon, the Ice King, straight after the Mushroom War. Maja likes this thing because it has deep sentimental affection, which is a good ingredient for her spells, apparently. So it looks like PB is gonna kick her ass, but in truth, she traded something important to her for a Hambo. Remember that shirt back in What Was Missing? We briefly see her wearing this at the beginning of the episode, sleeping in it. She even wakes up taking a deep whiff of it. She traded that for Hambo, and as Maja states,
the psychic resonance on Hambo is nothing compared to this, baby!
This episode further develops Marcy and PB's relationship. It is here where you start to realize that they were very close in the past, as highlighted by not only how much PB loves the shirt Marcy gave her, but also by the photo of the two that you can see in her cupboard. Cute episode, but there's this one line.
Raggedy Princess can make you a new Hambo in like 3 seconds. Or Raggedy Princess can be your new Hambo. She'd do it too. That girl's got like 0 self-respect. That's mean. Don't tell her I said that.
What an asshole. Let's now get to the episode Earth and Water. Followed by Finn and FP's breakup and the melting of the entire Ice Kingdom, PB spies on Flame Princess because she wants to find a way to suppress her more volatile traits. FP agrees to go with her to run some tests because she wants to stop feeling like shit after what Finn did to her. As the test is about to begin, Jake calls PB stating that Gunther has gone rogue after trying to rebuild the Ice Kingdom and that they need her help. Funny how much of a turn things have taken from the early days of the show. She puts Cinnamon Bun in charge, who completely ignores her instructions actions and tells Flame Princess the truth about her past. Turns out she was much more powerful than her dad was when she was born, so he just ditched her in the woods. Every time she got excited, she would start a huge fire. PB witnessed this and took her back to the Flame Kingdom, telling the king he couldn't just abandon her in the woods because she was too dangerous, so he locked her in a cage. Flame Princess is pissed off hearing this, and the two head off to Flame Kingdom. PB comes back with Finn.
So, why am I here again?
Oh, I just wanted to measure Flame Princess's reaction when confronted by the guy who broke her heart.
But finds that the two are gone. They head off to Cinnamon Bun's house and find a note from him.
If Flame Princess goes back there, her evil dad will lock her up again.
And if she's imprisoned, I won't be able to complete my tests and I'll have wasted my precious time!
The episode ends with Flame Princess usurping her dad as king, and Finn apologizes to her. The thing I want to highlight here is PB's cold and unemotional attitude towards Flame Princess and Finn. Sure, a case could be made that she was looking out for the world when baby FP was starting fires, and that is true, but in the present, the way she carries out her goals is so selfish and narcissistic. These lines, where she's upset about her time, or how Cinnamon Bun says,
Bubblegum is bad,
showcases that in her pursuit of science, she becomes very disdainful. It's not even clear what her experiment would have done. She said she'd suppress her more volatile traits, meaning the erratic emotions she has. Would that mean that Flame Princess would control her emotions, or completely rid them altogether? Well, when she says,
You'll know how to cut off my emotions so I won't feel like this.
Yeah, basically.
one could say that maybe PB's experiment would have made FP lose her ability to feel, making her an unemotional robot. What do you guys think? Let me know down below. I'll briefly mention the episode The Vault. I have a whole video going into just this episode you should check out by clicking the I, but essentially the main takeaway about PB here is that she's really old. She's been alive since the time of the Mushroom War. She was even close with one of Finn's past lives, Shoko, who tragically fell into toxic waste while trying to steal from her. This left Princess Bubblegum with a lingering sense of guilt. Finn, however, remembers this life and gives PB the amulet he stole from her as Shoko, strengthening the relationship between the two characters. So in truth, that whole
She's 13 years old now.
and 18 now didn't really mean shit. It was just a physical appearance thing. It does kind of reframe her whole relationship with Finn too.
Weirdo.
Let's go to the episode James. This episode follows Finn, Jake, PB, and a guy called James who go to this desert where PB says,
We're on a mission to collect samples only. I want to start colonizing this area by the end of the year.
You are killing me, PB!
there's more of that monarchical behavior. It goes wrong when they come across these toxic slime creatures we saw in Simon and Marcy's episode. Finn comes up with a bunch of escape plans, including shooting a flare or radioing for help. James even fixes up the radio, but when they go check it, it's all busted up. Finn even sees someone shoot up a flare, and Jake begins losing his mind on James.
It's the new guy.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know what we're talking about.
See what I mean?
Saboteur! Saboteur! I'm gonna kill you for real. The game is over. I'm really going to shoot you.
PB, however, doesn't want to point any fingers, and so in the end, Finn comes up with one final plan. There's only one way. He has to sacrifice himself. So while he states this noble speech, PB suddenly knocks Finn and Jake out. After this, Finn briefly opens his eyes to see Princess Bubblegum talking to James, and then sees him get jumped by the creatures. Later, she reveals to the two that she was the one who was sabotaging everything, having calculated that none of their plans would have succeeded. So she told James to sacrifice himself. Finn asks her why she didn't let him do it, to which she responds,
With this sample of James, I can clone a new one. He's candy, but you're not. I can't clone another you.
Much to Finn and Jake's traumatized and depressed mindset,
Just make a normal face. See? Normal face.
PB holds a ceremony in honor of him by creating another him.
Is this right or wrong? I can't tell.
That is the central question that the episode proposes. On one hand, Bubblegum had to make the right call and sacrifice a candy person instead of Finn, a hero who has saved her and others countless times. It was really the only thing she could have done. On the other hand though, this proposes the idea that PB sees the candy people as disposable. It makes you wonder whether she's done this exact thing countless times before. This episode shows that her ethics and morals are deeply questionable. In the episode Apple Wedding, Tree Trunks and Mr. Pig are getting married, and PB gets angry when she learns that Tree Trunks wants the King of Ooh to officiate the ceremony.
That fraud!
This is his first appearance, and he'll have a major role later on in season 6. She sneaks into this blimp to find an outdated marriage license, and she crashes the wedding. It turns out that he had the up-to-date one in his pocket. Instead of owning up to her mistake, she imprisons not only the King of Ooh, but everyone at the wedding. Now, despite her letting everyone go after seeing Mr. Pig and TT get married, she was a little bit of a loony in this episode. While we later learn that the King of Ooh is a fraud and a creep, so her concerns weren't entirely out of the blue, imprisoning everyone instead of owning up to her actions is pretty deplorable deplorable. Whatever, this was a mostly unserious episode. What wasn't though was a two-parter Lemon Hope. After taking him away from Lemongrab with the help of the Lemon People, we see that PB's been showing him the atrocities of what's going on there. But he doesn't seem interested and states that he can do whatever he wants. He's dismissive of the Lemon People and eventually runs off. Later, we see this character named Flannel Boxing Day, who is 100% PB in disguise. Lemon Hope has been having nightmares about the life he left behind, and PB here tells him that he has a choice, either leave it be or go back and save them. After all, an unpaid debt isn't easily forgotten. Hearing this, Lemon Hope goes back and saves the Lemon People. He doesn't, however, stay at the castle and instead leaves to finally be free of his guilt. I did a whole video discussing the hidden meanings and the importance of this episode, and it sparked an interesting discussion in the comments. You had one side saying that Lemon Hope is a spoiled brat who should have gone back without even a thought, while the other side said that PB shouldn't have been showing him such atrocities in the first place and forcing him to do something that he doesn't want. And interestingly, both sides are correct. Since the Lemon People saved him, I think it's fair to say that when the time's right, he can go back and repay his debt. But I do also think that PB teaching him about the atrocities at such a young age may be a bit much. We do see it affects him because he has these weird nightmares in the episode. Listen, PB has done a lot of fucked up shit. I don't necessarily think this is one of them. The whole Lemongrab stuff about the show is in a very weird gray area because technically PB created him but gave him his own kingdom so she can't interfere, yada yada yada. Maybe Lemon Hope was already showing signs of selfishness, which worried PB, so she tried to teach him early on. If he grew up with that attitude, he might never have returned to the Lemon Castle. Worse, he could have ended up a complete asshole. The nightmares he experienced planted a sense of guilt in him, something that might guide him on his path to true freedom. I get the issues behind PB's politics though, because as I've stated, she's had no problem spying on people and breaking into people's homes to collect taxes that are not even a part of her kingdom. Why doesn't she just take care of the Lemon Castle herself instead of getting Lemon Hope to do it? She created them. Again, leave your thoughts down below. In season 6, we have the episode The Cooler, one of the most important episodes when it comes to her character. The Fire Kingdom has cooled down for an unknown reason, causing some inhabitants to die. Flame Princess calls up Princess Bubblegum for help because drastic times call for drastic measures. PB tries to bond with Flame Princess, but FP makes it clear that they're not friends. They arrive at a cave where ancient fire giants sleep, powerful relics meant to aid the Fire Kingdom in times of crisis. Despite their importance, PB could give less of a shit and starts deactivating them by removing their modules. When Flame Princess catches her, PB insists the fire giants are just too dangerous. A fight breaks out, where she claims that the Fire Kingdom has always been a threat to her. She manipulates the situation so that FP accidentally destroys the giants. Exhausted after the battle, PB admits that she was the one responsible for cooling down the Fire Kingdom in the first place. Yeah, absolutely no surprise there. She said she needed to gain access to the Fire Kingdom's weapons, and this was the only way to do it. FP's confused, asking how she knew about them, and well, it turns out that she shoved a camera into Cinnamon Bun. We did see him at the beginning of the episode scratching his nose. PB says,
I'm PB. I spy on everybody. No big D.
But FP says one of the most important lines that most fans have wanted to say to PB themselves.
You're cold, PB.
And it's not because you're a scientist or a leader. It's because you are a bad person.
PB takes that line to heart and says that FP can keep one fire giant. She hopes that she'll change her opinion of her one day, that she isn't a bad person. Reluctantly, FP helps Bubblegum up and she tells her her real name.
It's Phoebe. My first name is Phoebe. You asked earlier.
With that, Bubblegum tells Ice King to stop freezing the core, and we see one final scene. PB is standing in front of a bunch of these cameras, spying on literally everyone. She hears Flame Princess talking to her brother and decides to shut it off. What follows this is her tearing up all the cameras, and she locks that room, supposedly saying goodbye to that bad habit of hers. She was a mostly unlikable character in this episode, despite her heart being in the right place. She has good intentions, but how she carries them is just unethical and sometimes sincerely f***ed up. I like her growth, however. FP calling her a bad person doesn't make her get defensive. Instead, she's self-reflective and decides to stop spying on everyone. Besides, I think in this episode, she's realized that Flame Princess isn't a rogue leader and won't just attack the Candy Kingdom without reason. That is, if PB doesn't give her a reason to. Her precautions and actions toward FP are so paradoxical. If you want her to be on your side, stop acting like such an asshole and have some faith. And thankfully, by the end of the episode, it seems like she does. The Pajama War is a cute episode that develops PB and Finn's relationship more. There's a slumber party in the Candy Kingdom, and PB and Finn sneak off and just chat about life. PB talks about how she's trying to be more laid back and not think about work, while Finn discusses his feelings towards his birth dad. She also brings up how stressful it is being a princess, but it just is what it is. It's clear by the end that their relationship has become platonic, and they just enjoyed each other's company as good friends. I'll briefly mention the episode Hoots, which follows a day in the life of the Cosmic Owl. He enters PB's dream with this creature, later confirmed to be Gunther or Orglorg, and he tampers with it, turning the dream into into a nightmare. PB's candy subjects turn on her, and she falls into this acid pit. Because the cosmic owl was there, this dream is going to come to pass one way or another. And this is true in the episode Hot Diggity Doom. For whatever reason, the King of Ooh holds a barely legal election, and despite him having done some bad shit, the candy people vote for him instead of PB. PB doesn't even focus on the election since the Candy Kingdom isn't a democracy, and she's more concerned about the incoming comet. The King of Ooh ends up winning, mainly because the candy people are straight dumbasses, so PB doesn't even fight it and instead just chooses to exile herself. She goes out to this cabin on Lake Butterscotch, stating,
My Uncle Gumbald built this cabin with his bare hands. I spent my summers here when I was younger.
This line and look foreshadow her past and the final arc of the show. Anywho, for the time being, King of Ooh becomes the new princess of Candy Kingdom, while PB tries to adjust to a life with less responsibility. We now arrive at another important episode, titled Bonnie and Nettie. Finn and Jake find this candy dragon deep in the Candy Kingdom that supplies this soda-looking liquid, the water source equivalent. Then we get the King of Ooh singing the money song because he wants to capitalize on it.
Money, money.
Why are you singing the money song?
The dragon gets scared and bursts out of the kingdom. Finn and Jake tell PB about it, and she reveals that the dragon is actually her brother. We see a brief flashback of how PB was born. She was born from the mother gum, who dropped down graciously into a puddle of water. Nettie, her brother, however, dropped and landed on a spike, leading him to become fragile and sensitive. We see that the dragon arrives at this tree, which would later become the Candy Kingdom. Oh yeah, real quick, I have to show you guys this scene. It's also revealed here that the reason PB made the Candy Kingdom was because when she was in the mother gum,
My mind and my gum were in touch with dozens of others.
she likes having that kind of collective fortitude. Finn asks her if she misses the candy people, but she gives an unsure shrug. This thought is built upon in the next episode, titled Varmints. This is another PB and Marceline story where we learn more about their past. This is the episode that basically states they were a couple without outwardly saying it. The whole episode has them fighting off these varmints that are destroying PB's pumpkin patch. They even come across chalk writing PB made in this tavern back in the day. Marceline says,
Bonnibel Bubblegum, always so prepared.
We do know this already about her, but I'll get into this more when we get to the final arc of the show. Unfortunately, once they get trapped, PB breaks down, showcasing that the weight of being usurped by the King of Ooh has taken a toll on her. But on top of that, she says,
I thought that if I shut everything out and just focused on work, it would all be okay. All I managed to do was push everyone away. I pushed you away. I'm sorry, Marceline.
This is a different side to PB that was always alluded to but never explored. She likes work, yes, but she became so focused on it that she shut everything out. In the end, after they escape, she says,
I'm crazy tired, Marceline. I think I have been for a long time, but those varmints are still out there. Waiting.
To me, this line could have a deeper meaning. She's tired of running the Candy Kingdom, tired of watching out for everyone. The varmints in this case could be the candy people who are waiting for her to come back, because as we've seen, these guys are absolute idiots, and the King of Ooh is an even bigger one. She naps while Marcy keeps watch for the varmints. The episode reinforces that although it sucks she's no longer the princess, she can use this time to take a break from it all. I'll briefly mention the Stakes miniseries. Although this is a Marceline-centered story, PB has her important moments. She uses her machine to turn Marcy back into a human, and she says this line,
And someday, when you die, I'll be the one who puts you in the ground.
Unfortunately, because of a lot of chaos, Marcy turns back into a vampire, and she says to PB,
Bonnie, thank you for helping me grow up. Now I guess we get to hang out together forever.
Again, cute development for the two. Oh yeah, and the candy people realize that PB is the better leader and tell King of Ooh to go do one. She returns as princess. Now let's talk about the episode The Thin Yellow Line. Here we find out that the banana guards worship Princess Bubblegum.
They love me, but I think they're secretly scared of me.
See, some banana guards have these secret talents that they think if PB found out, she'd dismantle them. They twist her past experiences.
When the first candy people rose against her, she transformed them into hideous monsters. Her own brother, Nettie. She imprisoned him beneath the great tree. And the Rattleball boys? She iced all those guys.
We know that she didn't lock Nettie up though, he just chooses to be in there. This is the first time we see her Uncle Gumbald, and later we'll find out the truth about what really happened between them. Rattleballs, as we found out in a previous episode, were dismantled for being far too violent. Understandable. After finding out about the banana guard's talents, she doesn't punish them, but in fact encourages them. She says,
I'm just a person. I've done things in the past, things I'm not proud of.
Again, this episode showcases that she's reflective of her wrongdoings and is trying to be better. And yeah, while the banana guards are being a bit over the top, there's an element of truth to it.
She's amazing, and she's flippin' scary.
But nice.
I'll briefly touch on the episode Elemental, a precursor to the Elements miniseries. In Adventure Time, there are 4 elements: candy, fire, ice, and slime. The ice elemental in the past freezes herself and wakes up in the present. She has Ice King kidnap the elementals of the present, which are Slime Princess, Flame Princess, and Princess Bubblegum. She tells them about her history and even unlocks their latent power. Eventually they escape, but Patience is not dealt with fully. In the episode 2 Swords, where after Finn loses his arm again, Princess Bubblegum makes him a new one, just like she did for his past life Shoko, strengthening the bond between the two. The episode High Strangeness is a weird one. Tree Trunks here apparently has been banging this alien dude for years and even has alien children. She's also married to Mr. Pig and never told him about it until this episode. Hate this character. Anyway, they go to PB's fireworks show where she says,
"I'm doing the right thing,"
and sends these into space. Unbeknownst to her, these things crash into the alien spaceship. These probes have candy matter that begins to infect them. Tree Trunks sees this and gets pissed off at PB. Later, she shows her the kind of damage she's doing, and Princess Bubblegum reverses the changes. She reveals,
"It was supposed to seed new candy kingdoms on uninhabited planets, in case Ooh goes straight up dong bongles, cause, like, confidentially, there's a lot of ways that could happen."
Well, turns out she wasn't crazy, because we see that she was right, as seen in the future in Lemon Hope. I'll get back to this more later. The episode ends with the alien saying that he's gonna go take PB's candy probes to his abandoned home planet, where they'll thrive. And jelly beans have power. PB is jealous of Slime Princess showing off her powers, while Princess Bubblegum can barely make a jelly bean, unlike what Patience was able to do for her. At night, she sees this paper plane come to her, showcasing this symbol, a symbol that is heavily foreshadowed through several episodes. She dismisses it and falls asleep, only to be greeted by Chatsberry. He's the candy elemental we saw back in the episode Evergreen. He asks her why she's not using her powers, and she responds by saying it's ass. Chatsberry then creates the infamous Coke Mentos explosion, and he tells her,
"Connect to yourself, to your new self."
She wakes up and is able to shoot out jelly beans. She calls Slime Princess over to brag in her face, but it ends in an argument. PB then reveals her primary conflict ever since she met Patience.
"It's just that the Candy Kingdom's supposed to be a reflection of me. I don't know who that is. I've lived my whole life while having this talent I knew nothing about. I'm a scientist, and I ignored crucial data about myself."
This fortune teller machine then arrives and begins destroying the Candy Kingdom. And we see that when she has to, she can shoot out as many jelly beans as she wants. It's not enough to destroy it though. It then opens up, revealing that cryptic symbol she saw before. That causes her to enter a trance, and she sees Chatsberry once again. He says,
"I can open the door for you, but you have to step through it yourself. Choose your own path."
She wakes up and angrily states that her own path was science. And she thinks back to the Mentos explosion her past life had caused. She uses science to recreate those ingredients and manages to stop the threat, but in doing so, it leaves a lot of the candy people injured. It turns out, Patience had sent the machine and presumably is going to send it to the other elemental kingdoms. She's planning something big, and we see it come to fruition in the Elements miniseries. After Finn and Jake come back from meeting humans in the Islands miniseries, they find it has completely transformed into the 4 elements.
Dude, why does you look like a 4-way pizza?
This was all done by Patience. Her plan had finally come to pass. Almost everyone they know, except for a handful of people, has transformed and forgotten who they once were. PB's become this colossal tower, stating,
"I become what I was always meant to become. A pure candy elemental."
She's even turned her best friend Marceline into Marshmalline. Unlike others, it's shown that she retains her memories, but she's become just someone completely different. She wants to spread her power and turn everyone into candy versions of themselves. It's funny how PB, who always had a kind of god complex, did in fact transform into someone with godlike power. In the end, because of LSP's anti-elemental powers, everyone gets reverted back to normal, or their essential forms. Oh yeah, real quick, I should have mentioned this in my Jake video, but if you pause at the right time, you could briefly see Jake's blue form when Slime Princess transforms back to normal, a reveal you could notice before the actual reveal at the end of the episode. I'll bring up the episode Catch Up. This episode reveals how Marceline handled Ooh transforming into the 4 elements. See, when Bubblegum became the tower, Marceline, through pure will, managed to fight back her transformation. She went to Patience and tortured her until she gave up a cure for Bonnie. However, when she climbed up Princess Bubblegum's tower form to give it to her, she states,
"Lollipop Girl was a completely different person."
Realizing that she lost her best friend, Marceline succumbed to her transformation, becoming Marshmalline. I like that the writers gave Marcy more depth for this, instead of her just transforming into a candy person like everyone else. It shows that she really cares for PB, and if she lost her, then there really would be no point in living. A theme that's present with almost every single main character in the show. After Finn accidentally kills Fern in the episode 3 Buckets, we briefly see this character picking up his remains. And if you remember that small vision during the Banana Guard story, this is in fact Princess Bubblegum's becomes Uncle Gumbald, who, in the coming episodes, works in the shadows, becoming one of the final antagonists of the show. We have now arrived at the final season, to the episode Bonnibel Bubblegum. PB unveils one of the missing pieces of her backstory after seeing a cup that reminds her of her Uncle Gumbald. 800 years ago, we see PB as a scavenger, collecting loot of all sorts. She even has a close call with another bandit. After returning to her tree, where her brother Nettie is, she decides to create a family in the image of a photo she came across. She liked being in the Mother Gum, where she didn't feel so alone, and so she creates Aunt Lolly, Cousin Cheekley, and Uncle Gumbald. They become her family and help her in creating a new life, even planting trees. But Uncle G begins chopping them down to create his cabin, something that she references in a previous episode.
I spent my summers here when I was younger.
Uncle G disagrees with PB's vision and starts to feel patronized. He has his own idea for a candy city and plans to promote it using a symbol that features his own face. PB feels worried and starts to slowly change his city by creating Lake Butterscotch. Later, Uncle G creates Mr. Cream Puff to be her boyfriend, which I mistakenly said in my previous video was created by PB, and he keeps her distracted while the family starts coming up with their own plan. She returns to see that they're plotting against her and that Uncle G has come up with this thing called Dum Dum Juice. He sprays it on his family members, turning them into candy characters we've seen appear throughout the show. It's a cool reveal. PB confronts him and he corners her with the Dum Dum Juice, saying that her leadership is incompetent and that he's gonna fix her and that he's gonna fix Nettie. She defends herself and he becomes the Punch Bowl, revealing that these three were the original candy citizens. PB states,
But they do seem happier now. So unburdened and pliable.
And so that's when she became Princess Bubblegum. And this is also the genesis of the Candy Kingdom. I think this reveals why the candy people are so dumb. She created them dumb so that she wouldn't have to deal with someone violent rebelling against her. Morally questionable, but somewhat understandable. However, creating them dumb did have its drawbacks, as they were the reason she was usurped by the King of Ooh briefly. Ironic. At the end of the episode, PB in the present looks at Bemo's mug to see the same symbol of Uncle Gumbald. Her family turning against her was something she didn't see coming, and so she becomes a person who always has a backup plan.
Yeah, I have to be always so prepared. We can't all just wing it.
In the episode 17, Uncle G and her family reveal themselves to her, and she pieces together how they came back. See, when LSP turned everyone back to their true forms, she reverted those three candy people too. In the episode Gumbaldia, PB finds out that Uncle G has created a kingdom called Gumbaldia, and is readying for war. She does the same, and despite Finn trying to talk her out of it, she's stubborn and says that she has no choice. Finn then speaks to Gumbald, and he acts like he's up for a peace treaty, but in truth, he doused Finn and Jake with Dum Dum Juice, in hopes it would get to Bonnie. Thankfully, she realizes what he did and calls for war. In the final episode, Come Along With Me, PB is moments away from sounding the horn to declare war when Finn says,
Please listen to me! We've been friends for a long time.
Okay, Finn. We'll give him one last chance.
I've always had mixed feelings about this inclusion. I would have liked to hear PB mention Shoko once or twice in earlier episodes. As it stands, it feels a bit forced, but I won't complain too much. I'd still rather have it than not. Finn deploys a nightmare potion in a desperate attempt to stop all the fighting. Instead, PB and Uncle G just start fighting each other in the nightmare plane. However, they then flash back to that memory in the cabin when Gumbald cornered PB. This time, they've swapped places, and PB the one who becomes a candy person. What I interpret this dream as is the idea of empathy. She walks in his shoes and he does hers. She took his dream of building the Candy Kingdom from him, and he had to stand by as a candy person and see it all happen. When they wake up, she apologizes for what she put him through, and he accepts her apology, going in for a hug. Aunt Lolly then trips him, and a beaker of potion juice breaks in his coat, splashing onto him and turning him into the Punch Bowl once again. Aunt Lolly says,
He never was the epiphany type, but I am willing to let bygones be bygones.
And so Ooh now has two candy kingdoms. All joy is short-lived though, because soon after, Golb arrives to cause chaos. PB almost dies.
No!
Marceline goes apeshit as a result, and after finding out she's okay, the two finally kiss. After Golb is defeated, PB comes to Finn and thanks him for trying to fix everything between her and Gumbald. She gives him a kiss on the cheek, a much stronger platonic one, unlike what she used to do back in season 1, and says,
You're getting tall.
Also related to this, I forgot to mention the episode Don't Look, where Finn is cursed with these eyes, and when he looks at people, he transforms them into what he truly sees them as. When he looks at PB, she transforms into a teen boy, showcasing that he sees her as a bro show rather than anything else. We later see during the montage scene in the final episode that she and Marceline are a couple again, chilling at her house. We also see her chilling with the other princesses, showcasing that they probably bonded after what happened to them in Elements, and that there's no animosity between them. 1,000 years in the future, when everyone we know is dead, there is no clear mention of where PB is. If we look at the opening, some people seem to think that we can see her hands here in an ice prison, suggesting that the ice thing kidnapped her, and the person we see here is Marceline. I don't like this theory, because A, we see that the ice thing is putting on a show for Marceline and PB in the present, so I don't see the point of having it be the one to kidnap her 1,000 years later. You could argue that in 1,000 years, Gunther, as the ice thing, just loses all control and starts doing the stuff Ice King used to do. Personally, I think it's just an Easter egg and nod to how things used to be back in season 1, that everything stays but it still changes. In other episodes as well as here, we see the prize ball guardian, which becomes a kind of portable candy kingdom. We see some characters in cryostasis in these prize balls and actual rooms inside the guardian. There are a couple of ways you could read this. One is that since we see that the pup kingdom exists where the candy kingdom previously was, PB abandoned it and created the prize ball guardian so that it could be a walking, moving kingdom. Maybe the pup kingdom forced her out, and this was one of the confidential reasons Ooh could go to shit, as she alluded to in High Strangeness. Another interpretation is that PB finally started to take things a bit easier. She created this thing so that she doesn't have to worry about running the kingdom anymore. They'll be safe in cryostasis inside these cases. It still fits in with her character, as again, it is morally questionable. PB and Marceline are most likely still alive, assuming they weren't killed since they both can age for eternity. We just don't know where they are. What do you think? Let me know down below. That would be everything for Princess Bubblegum, but there's one final episode I'll discuss briefly, and that's Obsidian from the Together Again miniseries. While this episode mostly answers more questions about Marceline's tragic past, we do see the exact moment PB and Marceline broke up the first time. It's what we already know. Bubblegum was too focused on work, and sometimes she found Marcy too distracting, and she'd lash out at her. This toxicity built up within Marceline, and she wrote a mean and bitter song, resulting in their breakup. In the present, however, Marceline writes a new song, and she comes to understand that PB is good for her. The two become closer than ever. We also see how PB got Marcy's shirt that we saw in previous episodes. This is a really basic explanation of the episode, because as I said, it is mostly about Marceline and not PB. But I bring it up because we get to see how their relationship came to be. Bonnibel Bubblegum is not a simple character by any means. She's had her controversial and morally questionable moments, sure, but most of the time, they've never been with pure ill intent. She created the Candy Kingdom in hopes she could form a sense of community and family, just like she had in the Mother Gum. After what Gumball did, she chose to become more of a leader and became more controlling of her candy citizens, and developed some trust issues. She didn't trust Flame Princess at first, and chose to escalate rather than simply talking it out. However, she was self-reflective in her behavior constantly. Interestingly, she created Goliad despite her family going rogue. Maybe she finally got over that kind of trauma, but upon Goliad becoming corrupted, it came back to her. Most of the time, she's fully aware that her actions are morally questionable, but still goes through with them, prioritizing results over ethics. She's a monarch at the end of the day, and it would be impossible to be a saint at that kind of status. She is not the monarch of Ooh though, and sometimes she acts like it. Bonnibel Bubblegum exhibits signs of a god complex, believing she has the authority to act however she deems necessary. Take this scene from The Lich, where we just see her playing around with these little people, cutting off their legs and attaching them to others. She's curious, sure, possibly thinking about a way she could apply it to her kingdom. This ties back into the theme of playing God, showcased throughout the show. This even ties back into James, and because she can just create these candy people from scratch, she sees them as disposable.
How come we don't just fix their hearts like we did with Lemon John so they're more selfless and less selfish?
Oh, no. Their hearts are fine. They're just like this.
That's why I think Marceline is good for her and offers her a humane way of thinking, bringing her down to earth. She may have handled Finn's early years weirdly, and I still think she should have been more direct. What their friendship ends up as is stronger than everything they have gone through though.
Hi, Bonnie. Hey, I'm Fern. I kinda already know you. I have a lot of fuzzy half memories from when I was this guy.
Just keep the ones where she's our boss and forget everything else.
She is by no means an evil character, but also by no means a saint. She's just a person who, because of her upbringing, became a stubborn, controlling, and sometimes immoral leader. Princess Bubblegum started as a damsel in distress of the show, but soon began to be a person that the heroes of Ooh looked up to. You could even argue that the gum who saves Marcy and Simon in their episode represents that at the end of the day, Princess Bubblegum would save those in need no matter what. I do want to mention again her adaptability to her magic powers. She had to challenge her way of thinking and being, and use science alongside magic, something that she never would have done in the past. Although we don't know her whereabouts in the 1,000 year time skip, we see her briefly in Fiona and Cake chilling with Marcy, her final appearance to date. I'm pretty sure. That is a story of Princess Bubblegum, also known as Bonnibel Bubblegum, which begs the question, is she misunderstood or merely an evil dictator? Leave a comment below on what you think. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. I want to thank all of you for all the support you've given me over the last few videos. If you are new around here, please subscribe, because according to my analytics, 90% of you have not subscribed. By leaving a like and subscribing, you truly give me the motivation to continue making these videos for you. Check out my other videos here, and thanks again for watching.